Welcome to Creative Morning Berlin. The topic of this month is native, and our speaker is Sam Johnson, who is a painter and a musician, and he's gonna tell us about how he finds inspiration and what is his background.
Thank you all very much for coming this morning. Thank you all for coming this morning. My name is Sam Johnson, and I grew up in Los Angeles, born in Los Angeles, California. And my great-great-grandmother was a black Indian slave that was impregnated by the Irish slave master. Fast forwarding to my grandfather, he was a military man, and he was stationed in the Philippines, and he married a Filipino Spanish woman. On my mother's side is Filipino, Chinese, and Spanish. As you can see, my family is pretty well mixed. I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood, and there's a lot of different cultures there. There was Greek and Spanish, but predominantly black. And in this neighborhood that I grew up with, there was a lot of musicians, a lot of famous musicians there. And I went to school with their kids. So all these groups came out of my neighborhood, and as you see, there was Billy Preston. He ended up playing with the Beatles. Al McKay from Earth, Wind and Fire actually lived across the street from me. And there was actually much more people of famous bands that lived in my neighborhood. And in my neighborhood, it was predominantly, I grew up with jazz, blues, and funk. And a lot of the musicians, in LA, they had garages where you're supposed to park your car. But being that it's a warm town, people would live in their garages if they had too many kids, or they would, be artists, or they used it as a rehearsal room with bands and stuff, right? So when I was young, my parents used to take me to this beach, and it was called Cabrillo Beach. And on this beach was a Latin and black beach. And there would be all these different people from South America and Mexico and stuff with drums and stuff. And they'd be playing the drums, and everybody beat on cans and stuff. And this is what got me interested in playing percussion and stuff. So I was doing that. And then I was hanging out with a lot of musicians and in my neighborhood, and I actually got my first drum set when I was 14 years old, and I formed my first band, and that's called the Amptones. Amptones, we were just a kids band, and we would play parties and school dances and stuff like that. when I was out of high school and going to junior college, I got a band called The Sounds of Success. And this band got me more into it because pop was going on at that time, so I started playing more rock. We mixed funk, a lot of horn stuff, and more doing rock. And we won the Teenage Battle of the Bands in the mid '60s, and we were the #1 band in Los Angeles. And then I got with a band named Brownstone. I wanted to get a record deal, and I was searching, and I was more into rock at this time. And so I went to an audition because LA is a town where they put advertising in the newspapers looking for musicians and stuff. And I beat out like 75 drummers to get this deal to play in the band. And then they got the record deal on Playboy Records, and I did tours with them. During this time, I started fooling around with electronics. And no, I'm jumping far ahead. I go back. I got a gig with a woman named Seal Turner. She's there, and Seal Turner did a lot of tours in America, and we had the first tour to Germany. This is the first time I came to Germany, and I did a tour with her. And during this time, I was starting to fool with synthesizers. And okay, no sound. I was fooling around with synthesizers, getting hooked on it because it was coming in with drum machines and samplers and all that stuff. And I met a good friend of mine, Norton Wisdom, and we... So me and Norton Wisdom, we go down to his atelier, and he would be painting, and I would be doing, it's like practicing, learning the machines and stuff, and we would be playing and doing this stuff. And then we met another nut named Snake Pit, and we put up a band called Panic. And with this band, we played, it was during the punk time, so we were playing in the punk scene in New York and LA. And Norton would be painting live, and me and Snake Pit with all our instruments were doing like that time. During this time, I got a gig with Iron Butterfly. During this time, I was working in the studios as a drummer, percussionist, and I was getting calls to do synthesized work, programming drum machines and synthesizers and stuff like that. I played on many kind of sessions and worked with the Beach Boys, Barry White Productions, Leon Ware Motown, and did the Mattel commercials and stuff like that. During this time, while I was doing that, I got another gig with the Sweet Inspirations. So, Sweet Inspirations worked with Elvis Presley for 30 years, and this was their first tour to Europe. And so I did the tour, and then after the tour, we got the opening act for the Gino Vanelli, the Brother to Brother tour. All during this time, I'm doing session work, doing small tours, and working in the studios and various clubs. Then in '87, I got a gig too, because let me go back a little bit. I was working with the synthesizers, and I was interested in doing film scores. And I started working with student films and stuff like that, and doing that. And then in '87, I got commissioned to come to Berlin and write a film score. And during this time, I went out and the film score got the funding got lost the money, and I didn't know what to do because I didn't know anybody in Berlin. So I went out to some jam sessions, met a bunch of great musicians, and started working with a lot of different students. But then I was stuck back on drums and percussion, and I wasn't too happy about that. But luckily, I met Yumiko and Minako that had their own boutique company, and I started composing for them, and then I formed 2 groups. I put together 2 groups. It was Temp and G and a group called PAC. Overall, I've probably composed about 150 productions that went worldwide. And what's very interesting about this is I worked with all kinds of cultures. People from South America, Africa, the Japanese, the Chinese, just Latin people, everything. It was a good combination of stuff that I was doing with them. Yeah, and then I'm still composing on my instruments of drums, percussion, guitar, and keyboards and stuff like that. Then, with also playing with all these different groups, I've been fortunate. All these musicians, I've done concerts and toured the world around, and a lot of the guys are still around in this stuff. What happened then later, besides painting, I got a passion for painting. Through Norton, I was always seeing them painting and stuff like that, and I saw that there was another way to paint, you know. And so I started painting in oil. These are oil paintings here that I was doing, abstract and figurative stuff. As I was going along, I got very interested in the stuff on the street. As you see, the street art with collages, taking posters off the street, also environmental friendly, making huge collages and putting it together. Also this one here, we see at, I had a fashion designer, okay, this one, and she was just throwing away this material, and I started using it in my paint. And the funny story is, I was working on a big painting, and a friend came by, and he says, "What is that?" And I said, "I don't know, I'm just working with it." He says, "It looks like dirty underwear." No, he said, "It looks like underwear." And I said, "It is underwear, it's dirty underwear, give me your underwear." So that painting became Dirty Underwear, right? I called it Dirty Underwear. And actually, when we had the art show, it was very funny. The gallerist said, he's still working on this painting, and at the end of the show, there was a big pile of underwear in front of the painting. And that's now in the painting. So, you know, I was doing all these different kinds of construction things, Mullen. My good friend Jörn got me a commission to do a Buddy Bear. And I call this Nancy. I call her Stick 'em Up because, you know, in the cowboy movies, they go, "Stick 'em up." So I called her Stick 'em Up Nancy. And I said, "Oh, Nancy, you're a woman because you ain't got no balls Yeah. So I think I'm the first one to do this, the only one to do a buddy bird like that. Other thing is I had to work with the company's colors, which I hated, and also the pictures of the buildings that they constructed. So I was doing that and like that. Moving on, this is I really got into molding stuff, and this is street paper on wire, and I started doing like sculpture kind of stuff. I call this Zen elephant, you know. And this one is molded canvas, and I call this black spider web. It's pretty. My paintings, a lot of them are big. They're not small, and it's all molded with the canvas. This is a cut-up painting that I didn't like anymore, and I cut it up and I made it into a collage, molded construction kind of thing. And this one is called colored Band-Aids. I think this is posters, a lot of thick posters molded into this kind of stuff. So I've been lucky to work with all this different stuff, and I was fortunate to show at different galleries and stuff. And I had shows in Morocco, Czechoslovakia, at Los Angeles, a lot of shows in Berlin. And so part of my, there I am there. So part of my cultural background influenced the way I work, and I've always been interested to not always stay the same. And I've always liked colors from different countries. You know, India has fabulous. If you go to Japan, it's amazing the color combinations they make together. Also, my heritage is, as a native, the sand paintings and all the Indians now, they're using, I like phosphorescent paint, and now the Indian costumes are phosphorescent. They come out, they're real bright, and it's amazing, you know. So I'm doing that for years now. I'm still moving forward with my art and stuff. So I would like to thank very much to the Creative Morning team, Anna's team. I'd like to thank my team, Alex, Jörn, Zig, and I wish you all a beautiful life. Thank you very much.